Hi, today I'm going to be working on this phase one text that Genevieve created. And so for this video, I'll be working just on verse one, and I'm going to show you what the issues are. Um, so in the first, Genevieve has a adverbial clause here. Um, but it's not really a clause like this. Okay, so um, in the days would be a prepositional phrase, so that wouldn't be a clause. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strike, no, I think I'll save the changes for her to make. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this first one, and I'm going to, oh, it doesn't like our punctuation. Let's say ignore all. Doesn't like the brackets. Okay. So I'm going to mark this and I'm going to say add comment. The days prepositional phrase, comma, not a clause. So okay, so here we have when the judges ruled Israel. So what this is this is a restrictive clause. So there shouldn't be a clause boundary in the days, but there should be a clause boundary here. This is a restrictive clause. Okay, so this shouldn't have been a clause, but this has to be a clause. And oh God, my voice recognition. It's a problem here. So there should have actually been two restrictive clauses here. Because we don't say when, we say at the time, and then it's the time that judges ruled Israel at. So I've actually put two restrictive clauses in here. Okay. Uh-oh. That didn't get added somehow. Oh, yes, it did. It's here under when. Okay, now here it was indicated that the word Israel is implicit. But I would, it's okay, I guess, putting it in parentheses, but I would not advise this notation here, lepren implicit hyphen info. The reason is that this notation, implicit -info in parentheses, we use specifically to indicate that a clause or a sentence is implicit info. And here, what she means is just that the word Israel is implicit info. So I'm going to suggest, okay, so let me say that. Implicit -info, right paren, close quote, is used specifically to indicate that a clause is implicit information, period. Please use implicit. Make a comment, period, to indicate that it is implicit. So I'm going to suggest that she not use the parentheses because that would be one extra thing to delete. Here, if I put underscore implicit, then that still has to be deleted for the phase 2, but at least you can do it in one place instead of multiple places. Okay, so we have that comment. There was a famine in the land. Okay, so at first I was wondering about that. Can we say it that way? Because I would normally write it, a famine was in the land. And so I went into the program and I just tested it. So I put there was a famine for a few years. I'll talk about this for a few years in a few moments. But it got it right when it did the analysis. Famine, be existential. So that comes out, you can see if you put the mouse over it, existential, there are lions in Africa. So it would be, there was a famine. So that's okay. You can write it that way. But there's a good question is, can we use the word famine? So if you look at the Longman defining vocabulary, so let me maneuver to that. Huh. Shouldn't take me so long to find this. There it is. Okay. You can see that famine is not in here. So we don't have the word famine as a simple word. So we have to think about, you know, how we can do that. So what about in the program? What does it say? So ontology and lexicon, ontology, nouns. Let's go to F. And thank you, Genevieve, for being the first guinea pig to get this video. You can see famine is marked as magenta color, which means that it's complex. So we have to figure out how we could express that. So possibly famine as a noun could be a time when many people did not have enough food, but probably a very common expression would be there is a famine in the Bible. So I thought about that and I said, if you say there be a famine, then I came up with this explication. Many people did not have enough food. So that kind of captures the idea of famine. And so I think if you had the expression be, I'm going to mark this existential. So if there was a famine, I'll just there be famine, then that could be automatically replaced with many people did not have enough food. So you could write it this way. Just say many people did not have enough food, and that would be okay. And then we'd have a rule later that would convert that to there is a famine. But what we've decided is it's okay to use the complex word as long as there's an entry in this file. So the process here would be for you, if you want to use famine, you should look in this file. So this is in our G Suite account. You guys should have access. It's the file how to handle complex terms. Once you find out that this is not a simple term, then you need to figure out if you're allowed to use it. And because I've made this entry and it says yes, you are allowed to use it. Or if you were looking at this first and I hadn't done this already, then you would think about, is there a way I could express this concept and make an automatic replacement of there is a famine with this here in simple terms. And then you could add this as a line here. And then please put your name and mark this with red color or something so that we know that I should take a look at it later. Okay, so that was a big mouthful. So famine, I'll mark this thing was a famine. Let's make a comment. Cap, you need to verify that you can use the complex word it wasn't in the open quote Cap how to handle complex concepts close quote document on, but I've now added an entry, period. Okay, in the land is okay. So a man who lived in Bethlehem. Okay, so here, oh God, got to remember about that voice recognition. So if you write it this way, who lived in Bethlehem in Judah, you have to think about whenever we have in something, that's going to modify the verb unless it's written as a restrictive clause. So the question is here, do you want it to be lived in Bethlehem and in Judah at the same time, kind of? But I don't think that's really what it means. I think what it means is lived in Bethlehem that was in Judah. So I suggest that we do it that way. So I'm going to add a comment. If written like this, comma, it indicates that, open quote, in Judah, close quote, modifies the verb, open quote, live, close quote, period. I suggest, open quote, in Bethlehem that was in Judah, right bracket, close quote, period. Okay, next thing, to the land of Moab. So we can write that. That's something we can write in our semantic representations. But we should ask ourselves, what does that mean? So it means somehow there's some connection of the land to Moab. For instance, it might be uh, it might be that the land that's in Moab. So, or do you mean the land named Moab? I think probably it's the land of Moab, then this is okay, land of Moab. I suggest adding something though. Uh, Maybe it's okay. We could add this is okay. You could say land of Moab, country, close quote, period. Now this notation is going to look pretty weird, and then this would be underscore implicit. This is optional. I'm not sure whether Todd would like this or not. I think it's okay. Yeah, this is good, actually. I think this is good. So because Moab, this is the first time that Moab has been introduced, I think it's nice to add this implicit information that it's a country, although it might be obvious from the context. So, okay, I said could, so I guess we can consider this optional. Now, if you say, you could say country named Moab, but that way you always get the country spelled out. If you do it this way with country after the named, then if you don't include implicit information, it'll just say Moab. So it'll get rid of it won't have the country named Moab. But for the unchurched children audience, this would make it the country named Moab. So this is just an option. Another option would be here to say the land named Moab, although it seems like if you're going to do that, then it ought to be the country named Moab. Okay, anyway, I'll add this comment. Okay, that man, we can't say his. We don't use third person pronouns, period. Write this as okay, so you should write it as that man's wife. Same thing here. Same comment here, period. Okay, we don't say there, we say at that place. The generator will replace that by there. So we have to be more specific than there. kept use, open quote, at that place, close quote, period. Kept, you could also say, open quote, in that land, close quote, comma, but open quote, at that place, close quote, will become, open quote, there, close quote, in the generation, period. Okay, so if you use at that place, it will become there when it's generated. Okay, finally, we're not allowed to say for some time. The amounts of time have to be written very explicitly in TBTA. So for reasons I don't know, but that's the way we do it. For is okay. There's a sense of for that means for amount of time, but we can't say for some time. Okay, I'll add a note here. We have to state amounts of time explicitly, period. I suggest for a few years, for several years, for many years, close quote, period. Will come out wrong in the analyzer and will have to be corrected. Period should be turned to the, changed to the number, period. Okay, so I hope you're not blown away by all these changes and the complexity, but you don't want it to be too simple or it'd be boring, wouldn't it? So anyway, I made a note here that you could use for a few years or several years or for many years. You know, you've tried to figure out what you think is best. A few will come out wrong in the analyzer and will have to be corrected, should be changed to Pockle number. Now I know that this because what we currently have is with this a few, which is called Pockle. And I'm going to show you in the analyzer. Okay, so I brought up this example. So I wondered, oh, I have to analyze it again. It didn't save it. It ought to ask you. I thought we changed it that way, but it didn't. Okay, so here you can see that if there was a famine, it became famine B existential. If you were quick and you're looking, you would have seen it started out with something a little bit different, and then it figured out that it should have been this. Now this says for few years, so it actually misinterpreted few here. So the word few that we have means a small quantity. That's not what we really mean if we say a few years. We mean several, basically. You could have used several. So I'm going to correct this by deleting this. And then I'm going to show you what it was supposed to come out like. Oh, Pockle. I don't even know what this term means, but it comes out a few. I guess it means a few. Okay, so we click OK. Let's see what happens if I generate. So you can see the phase 2 says famine be existential for Pockle years. Says there was a famine for a few years. Okay, so it worked. Pretty good, huh? Okay, so let's go back. Uh, okay, well, I think that's enough. Um, okay, that's it. So thank you, Genevieve, for being the guinea pig for this and giving me so many chances to show you things that are issues in the phase one. So I'm going to stop there. And like I said, don't give up. You can learn these things in time. Okay, and God bless you today. Bye.